I'm just going to discuss a question how to do the designing for a MV distribution cable. And so first we need to know what is the design procedure to design this MV distribution cables. The first one is the first step is load forecasting. So we know we are not going to design a distribution system for a 2 days load. So you know the load will be increasing day by day. There will be adding loads to the distribution feeder. We need to have sufficient capacity to feed those increasing load with the time. So usually we do load forecasting for 20 years before designing a distribution feeder. But in this lecture, we are not going to talk about how to do the load forecasting. We already have the forecasted load and we are going to do a design for that load. So if you see the parameters of load forecasting, these are the things that will affect the load forecasting: the population growth, the load density, and new industry city plans, those things. So probably if there are plans, you can easily take the load of them to the forecast. And also you need to do some statistical analysis to find out other loads are going to, what other loads are going to add in the future. And the second step is identification of derating factors. So I think you know about these derating factors from electrical installations. Uh, we use temperature derating factors. These derating factors are also called correctional factors. To Usually cables are rated at a default temperature level. So if the temperature levels are changing, we are going to have these derating factors to change and find out what is the rating at that uh, environmental condition. Not only the temperature, there are other things also. We are going to see them here. And the third one is evaluation of short circuit capacity. This is one of the major steps in this design procedure. And we will see how we are going to do this. And then the selection of cables and the voltage drop criteria. So I think probably you are familiar with selection of cables and voltage drop criteria from electrical installation module, and other things we are going to learn here. And these are the standards we are going to refer when designing MV distribution cables. So these are the two standards which are approved by CEB, the IEC 60502 and BS 6622. These are the two standards the CEB is approving to install. And so this is just a diagram of what we are going to do after load forecasting. So the good system performance means what we are going to learn in this lecture. So we are going to see voltage drop criteria, short circuit criteria. So if all those things are good, we can go ahead with the solution. If not, we will have to have new design parameters and all to have a new design. And we are not going to discuss all those things. So in here you have some additional steps like building new substations. You will see why we need to build new substations, because you know voltage drop criteria will increase when there's a very remote load. So to supply those loads, we may have to build new substations. So actually in this lecture we are not going to discuss them. We are only going to do the design. And derating factors, as I said, various installation methods and environmental conditions will introduce derating factors to the design. So the most used one is temperature. So in here we are going to talk about underground cables and also the cables installed in the air. So we have two temperature criteria. The first one is ambient and the ground. So if the cable is underground, we are going to consider ground temperature. And if the cables are underground, depth of laying is also considered for this design and for thermal resistivity. and grouping and spacing of circuits. So I think from the electrical installations, you know, ambient temperature and grouping and spacing, and we had I think installation methods also in the installation lecture. But in here we have additionally ground temperature, depth of laying, and soil thermal resistivity. And these are the ambient temperature derating factors. We are going to see how we are going to use these ambient temperature derating factors in example. So you know the default ambient temperature for rating these cables is 30 Celsius. So if the temperature of our ambient temperature is less than 30, we can have higher current flowing through the conductor. If the ambient temperature is higher than 30, our current rating will decrease. So at very high temperatures, you will see the current rating is decreased by somewhere around 30%. So that's how cable current ratings act depending on the ambient temperature. And now the ground temperature derating factor. Actually, in earlier slide, ambient temperature, the default temperature is 30 degrees, but in ground temperature, default is 20 degrees. So at 20 degrees, our derating factor is 1. Less than 20, we can have higher current. Higher than 20, we are going to have lower current rating for our conductors. And depth of laying. Depth of laying is applying for underground cables. Also, the ground temperature is also for underground cables only. And depth of cable, the default depth of laying is 0.8 meters. So variations from that, we are going to have derating factors. So usually in this lecture and usually in installation, we are going to prefer 3-core cables because you know there are when you are using 3-core cable, usually you only have to use one cable to supply the whole load. So these are in delta configuration, so no neutral. So one 3-core cable is enough for supplying the distribution. And we can have single core cables, but usually we prefer 3-core. And if the depth of laying is lower than 0.8, our rating factors are higher. That means if the depth of laying is less, we can have higher current rating. And if the depth of laying is higher than 0.8 meters, our cable ratings will decrease. So lower current ratings at higher ground depth. And this is a very new one. I think you haven't used soil thermal resistivity in other designs. So usually default soil thermal resistivity is 1.5 Kelvin meters per watt. And changing from that, we are going to have various rating factors depending on the conductor. And now we are coming to grouping and spacing for multi-core conductors. So you know, when installing conductors, we are not going to install only one conductor in a trench. So usually underground conductors are installed in a trench. There's a lot of space in the trench, so we are going to have several conductors going inside those trenches. So if you have many circuits going inside the trench, we are going to have another derating factors to change our cable rating. But these are I have highlighted this multi-core cables term. The thing is, you may find that if you have two runs of same type of cable for supply a same load, that means let's say you have a very high load, but you do not have a sufficient conductor cross section area to support that load using a one conductor. So you are going to have two runs of the same cable to support that load, but that kind of things we are not going to consider as a, cable group. Cable group is only for separate circuits. So if you have two loads at a location, if you are having two supplies for those two loads, you are going to consider this rating factor. And the sometimes cables can be touching, and sometimes there are maybe clearances between cables. So depending on those clearances also, we are going to have the rating factors for the cable. And this is also some another configurations of installing cables. So the rating factors are given. If I have specified in a question to use these installation methods, you are going to refer to these tables. So in a question, you are going to get all the details needed to find out these rating factors to do the design. Okay, so now we are coming to the cable sizing, and I'm going to discuss a question here. This will be more like a tutorial, and the content in this lecture is very less. I think only like 30 minutes will be enough to discuss the whole answer. And there will be a quiz at the end, a very easy question. So you will have to refer to the lecture notes and complete the quiz and submit it to the course. Very easy one, so not to worry. And all the things you need to do the calculation is included in the lecture. So for the cable sizing, there are 4 steps we need to follow. The first one is selection of minimum cross-section area. And to select this minimum cross-section area, you are going to depend on adiabatic equation. Pilena, have you learned about this adiabatic equation in electrical installation?
I think it was, yeah, yes.
Okay. So
I can't. I remember previously talking about it, the adiabatic equation.
Okay. So in the low voltage installations, the adiabatic equation is very easy. Only few terms. We are going to learn that in here too. But when it comes to medium voltages, we are going to have some modifications done to it. We will also see how we are going to use this adiabatic equation to find out the minimum cross-section area. Then the step 2 is finding the load current, and you know how to find the load current, very easy. And step 3, selection of a appropriate cable and number of runs. So in here, number of runs means, so you may remember in installations what you did was you found out the design current, and you had the all the correction factors, and you select a cable depending on those correction factors to handle that load. But when it comes to medium voltage cable sizing, these cables can be very expensive. So having several smaller cross-section area cables will reduce your cost. So usually what we are going to do is we are going to find out what is the minimum cross-section area, and we are going to use that cross-section area to have several runs of the same conductor to support the load. But usually if the ratio, we are going to see how we are going to find out how many runs we need. But if the runs are like more than 2, we are going to go for another conductor, slightly larger one, so the cost will be optimal. And then the voltage drop criteria. So you know how to find the voltage drop. In these cables, I know you use resistance in the installation design, but in here we are going to have resistance and also the reactance, because these cables are large and they will have parallel capacitances and all, so we need to consider them for the voltage drop. And adiabatic equation. So I will explain what's going on here. So in a short circuit situation, there will be a very high current flowing through the circuit or the conductor, and you are tripping mechanism will initiate after several milliseconds or some time period. So your cable should be able to handle that short circuit current for that tripping time period. So this is evaluated by adiabatic equation. So if your cable, what adiabatic equation is, adiabatic equation does is it will evaluate the thermal capacity of the conductor. If the thermal capacity released by the flowing short circuit current is lower than your thermal capacity of the conductor, your conductor is suitable for that design. So usually you can see this is a short circuit current waveform. We can't just say it is a sinusoidal, but we are going to consider a sinusoidal one. And so in a short circuit fault rising, there will be the cutoff point of the circuit, which is done by the tripping relay. So up to this cutoff point, the short circuit current will flow, and after the cutoff, there will be a arcing time. So in this arcing time, also through the arc, there will be a current flow. And if the area under this blue curve is the energy passed to the conductor during the tripping time. So this is called energy let through, and this is equated to I squared T. So energy let through is I squared T. So that is the energy released by the short circuit happened in the system. And K squared S squared is the thermal capacity of the conductor. So to conductor to be adequate to handle that energy let through, at least our thermal capacity of the conductor should be equal to energy let through. So if the thermal capacity is equal to energy let through, our conductor is enough to handle that short circuit current. But usually our thermal capacity should be more than energy let through to handle the short circuit current. So, but this equation is only valid up to 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, this equation we can't use. But you know our tripping times are way less than 5 seconds. Usually they are within 1 second time period. So this equation is valid for use within 1 second. So I have included the terminology here. The I is the fault current, T is the tripping time, and S is the cross-section area of the conductor, and K is a constant on the conductor. Usually K will be given. There are ways to calculate K also, but in bachelor level, we are not going to see those things. And so this is the adiabatic equation you saw in the electrical installation. But when it comes to MV cables, these MV cables will get very hot during short circuit fault. So therefore, we are going to have another term as a correction factor for this adiabatic equation. So this will be the thermal capacity of your conductor, and this is the energy let through. Energy let through does not change, but thermal capacity will be will have another term included to that. So in here it is I will explain the terminology. Here theta F is the final temperature of the cable in Celsius, and theta I is the initial temperature. So I said the cable temperature will rise. So therefore we need to compensate for that. So we are having this equation, and beta is the reciprocal of temperature coefficient. So actually you may remember the temperature coefficient. The reciprocal of that is the beta. So usually temperature coefficient of resistance is a very small value, like point something, and depending on the conductor types, usually this is for copper, and reciprocal of that will come from the unit Kelvin. but these things are in Celsius, so you do not have to worry about that because the temperature coefficient it is coming as, I think, per Kelvin unit. So reciprocal of that have the Kelvin unit. The range of Kelvin is different, but the magnitude of 1 Kelvin is equal to 1 Celsius. So you do not have to worry about that. You can just use that 234.5. It is a constant here. Usually we are going to select copper conductors. So this you can use without worry. Okay. So today I do not have my document writing thingy. So I included the calculations directly in here. And in here, I have given you a question with a short circuit current and the tripping time, and all the needed details are here. So I have included working out of a equation in this lecture. So usually K we take as 225, which is usually K is close to this value, and after after having all the data included to this equation, you can find what is the minimum cross-section area for a conductor. So for a 30 kiloampere fault, which is tripping less than 1 second, which is going to trip less than 1 second, and our cables will be heated up to 250 Celsius, and initial temperature is 90. Your cable, the minimum cross-section area of the cable will be 210.6 millimeter square. So in distribution cable sizing, after finding your minimum cross-section area, so this is based on your short circuit current of the system. So short circuit current of the system will be given to you in the question, and tripping time will be also given. So you are going to find out this cross-section area, which is the minimum we can use for this design. So what I meant is, let's say you have a load that needs very less current, like let's say 30-40 amperes. Even though you can use a very small conductor to support that current, depending on this short circuit capacity, we can't use a very small conductor to design that feeder, because it will violate the thermal capacity requirement of the conductor. So even though your current is very minimum, you are going to have one of the cables which has larger cross section area than this. So our cost will be very high when you have very small loads, because you can't use very small wires in this design. And so after finding the minimum cross section area, we are going to see the tables in IEC 60502, and find out what are the cables, what is the next available cable for this design. So I said we like multi-core cable for this design. So the next cable available for this design is 240 millimeter square. So we are going to take 3-core 240 millimeter square cable to design this system. So that is how we are going to select the minimum cross-section area for a distribution circuit. And this is the IEC 60502 table. You can also use DS 6622 tables, but I couldn't find the original table from the sources, but so I included the IEC 60502 table. So in here you can see the multi-core cables are going in this range, starting from 16 to 400, and so you are going to select the proper minimum cross-section area from this table. So then okay, so I will show you the for the examples I am going to give you. We are not going to refer to this manual because we do not have voltage drops and resistivities included in this. I am going to provide you with another manual to refer in the quiz and the examination question. And so after finding the minimum cross section area, we are going to select the cable, and in here you have the forecasted demand. So max demand of this feeder is going to be 18 MVA, and we are going to select a proper multi-core conductor for this system at 33 kV. And I have given all the details you need. The conductor is laid in a tray in free air, so this is not underground, so this is laid in free air. And there are three other circuits spaced 400 millimeter square, uh, spaced at 400 millimeter square in at duct center. Duct centers means usually we have HDPE duct around this conductor. So we are going to get the space between two duct centers for this design. And ambient temperature is also given 39 Celsius. And you can easily calculate the load current. You know the equation. So 18 MVA over root 3 into 33 kV. So you will get the load current as 314.92. So our minimum cross section area from the short circuit criteria is 240 millimeters square. So we are going to find out what is the current that 240 millimeter square cable can carry in free air. So usually in cable manuals, the current ratings for free air and laid in trays and laid directly in ground. So all the things are given. But under the table, there will be some information. So you can only use these buried direct in ground and in the buried duct data if everything matches only. So if something is a mismatch, you have to take this in air value and find out derating factors and multiply them by derating factors to get the proper correction factors and the proper current carrying capacity of the conductor. So in here, our details are given as cables are laid in free air, and ambient temperature is 39 and is spaced 400 millimeters. And in here, ambient temperature is 30. So we can't use this data directly. And what we're going to do is we are going to take the in air value, and our ambient temperature is 39. So we do not have a correction factor for 39C. What we are going to do is we are going to go to the ambient temperature correction factor table and get the next value. So the 39, the next value is 40. So you are going to design the conductor for 40C. So it will be the correction factor will be 0.91. And after getting that, so we have another correction factor. We have three other circuits spaced 400 millimeter ducts spaced at 400 millimeters. So we had a correction factor for this also. So the question says we have three other circuits. So that means the total number of circuits is 4. So we are going to find out what is the correction factor for 4 circuits at 400 millimeter spacing. So the correction factor will be 0.82. So after we are going to apply these two here and find out the overall correction factor. So that will be 0.746. And you know from the table, 240 millimeters armored cable can carry 529 in air. So we took that value earlier, and you can take if the question is not specified armored or unarmored, you can take anything. You can just write what cable you took. And in here I am taking armored cable, so 529 in air. So you are going to multiply that by correction factors and get the derated rating of the conductor. So in this installation, this 240 millimeter square cable can only carry 394.63 amps. So it is enough for the load current. So now, when it is enough, we know we only need one run of this cable. So required number of runs is 0.8. So we can have one run of 240 millimeter square cable for this system. So that's how we are going to select how many runs we are going to need. So let's say this current is something around 500 amps. Our load is different. If the current is 500 amps, you can do a cost analysis. So if you have 500 amps, so you will probably will have to go for this 400 millimeter cable considering the rating factor. But two 240 millimeter cables can be cheaper than 400 millimeter single cable. So you can do that analysis and find out what configuration you are going to have. So you can either have two times 240 millimeter cable or single 400 millimeter cable. So if the cost is given, usually cost is proportional to the weight of the conductor. So in the next question, I am going to show you a manual which has the conductor weight. So you may remember in the high transmission line design also, we considered the weight of the conductors to find out the cost, right? You had a assignment from that. And the similar thing applies here. When the amount of copper is higher in conductor, the our cost will go up. So you can do that analysis and find out how the cost is going to vary. So for this system, we can have 240 millimeters cable. And then we come to the voltage drop criteria. So you know we are in a delta configuration because we are now in medium voltage 30 kV delta. So we are only going to consider about line to line voltage drop, and also the three-phase voltage drop is usually I have mentioned here three-phase voltage drop, but this is line to line voltage drop. So line to line voltage drop is calculated using this equation. You may remember this equation. This is actually the same equation you had in the installations, but only difference is you have the reactance component. So earlier you only had this resistive component, but in here you are going to have the reactance component included to this. This equation is very easy to prove, and you guys can just Google this and you will get the derivation of this. This is there are some assumptions you are just going to this equation is derived by using the phasor diagram. If you observe the phasor diagram, you can easily derive this equation, and the voltage drop will be equal to root 3 times I is the load current and r cos theta plus x sin theta into length of the conductor. So in here r is per kilometer, x is also per kilometer, and if you have several runs of the same cable, we are going to divide the voltage drop by number of runs. So that's how we are going to get the voltage drop. So I have included the terminology: load current, and R is resistance per kilometer, X is reactance per kilometer, and L is the cable length in kilometers. Cos theta power factor, sin theta is we can just find sin theta using this equation. You know this equation, and usually voltage drop we are going to keep less than 5%. So that is the requirement. And here's an example. So this is the same example we discussed earlier. So now we are considering that feeder is 800 meters long, and power factor which has a power factor of 0.95, and resistance per kilometer is given and reactance per kilometer is given. So the voltage drop will be will be given by this equation. We can easily apply all the things in here and find out the voltage drop. And so these are medium voltages. So 89.56 is not a very huge value in this voltage levels. So you know, in low LV voltages, your voltage drops are very low. But when it comes to high voltages, this is a very small amount. So voltage drop percentage is only 0.2%. So very good voltage drop, the very acceptable. And so now we are coming to the quiz. So before going to the quiz, I have to give an introduction to your manual. You are going to refer to do this example. So let me share the. So I uploaded this document to CourseWeb. So this is one of the manual I obtained from the internet. I searched for Sri Lankan one, but I couldn't find one of Sri Lankan manufacturer. So this one is very good because it has all the details you need. So when you are going to do the design, so earlier in the example I discussed in the lecture, I refer to the tables given in the lecture slide. But that table does not include all the details you need to do the design. So usually in the industry, if you are asked to do a medium voltage cable selection, what you're going to do is you are going to find out a manufacturer of MV cables and get their manual and do the calculation. So similar thing we are going to do in here. So this is the manual we are going to refer. And in this manual, I said we can have two standards. So these DS6622 and IEC 60502. So these two are approved by CB. I do not know about this standard, but I found details in CB website saying they are approving these two standards. They haven't mentioned this standard. So we can stick to these two. And so earlier design I did using IEC 602 502 standard. So let's go to that standard. Page number 31. Okay. So in here they have included all the details you need to know about these conductors. If you go to the tables, let's go to 33 kV one. So these are single core. So I said we really like 3-core cables when we come to medium voltage designs. Let's go to 3-core cables. So 33. Okay. Yeah. In here we have 3-core up to 35 kV voltages. So the in the voltage drop criteria, you may remember we used the resistance per kilometer values and reactance per kilometer values. So all those things are included in here and included here. So actually they have copper and aluminum conductors. That's why they have separated these two values. So the first value is for copper and the second value is for aluminum. In here reactance is given per meter. So when you're applying, you can either use in meters. So if you are using in meters, you have to use all the details in meters. And if you like, you can also convert these things into kilometers. And these are the electrical data you can easily find from this manual. And you can also find the current carrying capacities. Okay, here. So this is the current carrying capacity table for 3-core cables up to 35 kV. And you see earlier in 240, we used 240 millimeter square cable, and the current carrying capacity we had in lead in air is 529 for armor. So table is similar, so you can easily use this table to calculations. To do the calculation without worrying about changes between IEC 6 or 2 or 5 and the table included here because both are same. And all the details are given for laid in, direct in, ground details are given. So in here also they have mentioned what are the default rating conditions, but you can't use these ones if our environmental conditions are uh, not similar to this. If they are not similar to this, you can't use the rating factors given in these uh, these columns. So what you have to do is you have to get the laid in air rating and multiply them by correction factor. So if you go to the example, so in here our uh, all the values are given. Our ground temperature is 30 Celsius. So this is an underground installation. So it is installed in direct in ground under 1 meters, and everything you need to do the calculation is given here. So because our ground temperature is 30 C, we can't use that that table to get the value. So our installation method is direct in ground, but the ground temperature given in here is 20 C. So you can't take this value. And what you have to do is you have to take the value from laid in air configuration and multiply them by the correction factors you find from the table. So for the correction factors, you can refer to the lecture. To table value, the table specification, you can refer to this manual. I uploaded this to the course web, so you can easily find this and get the values. And in here, the depth of soil is 0.8 is the default, and in the lecture, it is 1 meter in the quiz. So you have to make sure every correction factor is there when you are doing the design, and you have to do the design according to IEC 60502. The conductor should be according to IEC 60502. So you have to refer to the table I just showed you. So that's how you are going to do this quiz, and I will post a submission link uh, with the deadline on next Wednesday. Uh, very easy one. The same question. I think this is the same question we discussed in the lecture. Few differences, and you can just do this in a paper and scan using the apps you are using to scan documents and upload to the courses. So that's what you are going to do in this cable selection, MV cable selection lecture. So I hope everyone understood the lecture materials. So if you have any questions, you can ask. If you need to do any clarifications, you can ask now. So you can also use the chat window. I am looking at it. If someone has a question, you can do the raise hand thing in your Zoom software and type your question. So I will wait. Okay, seems no one is raising their hand. Okay, so that means I'm going to finish the lecture now. And if you have any questions, you can contact me through WhatsApp, or you can just call me and ask. Just a question. Yeah, the deadline. So deadline will be next Wednesday. That means 9th, right? Yeah. You have more than a week to do the quiz. Okay. Are there any more questions? Okay. So if you have any more questions, you can contact me through WhatsApp. So I'm going to finish the lecture now. So you can, if you have question, please contact me through WhatsApp or I will help you.
Okay, sir.